This is Classic Hits 1079 WKIO and our Homegrown feature, which talks about all the music that was generated out of Champaign-Urbana, and we're considering the One-Eyed Jacks to be the genesis of that whole entire scene. So, again, this is my compadre, Dave Leake. He also co-hosts the show. And we're really, really grateful that we've got your time here to talk about the One-Eyed Jacks. The first question I'd like to ask both of you guys, in particular Foz too, this is a big question, but what did the One-Eyed Jacks mean for your career?
It's meant everything. I mean, it was totally my launch for my career. Even though I'm real clear about the fact that God was doing it all, not me, but it's just been such a blessing. My attitude of gratitude is endless. And it's because I was lucky enough to get to play that role as a one-eyed jack. And what a joyous role it was to play. So much fun. You know, screaming teenagers. It was just, it was really a dream come true to have the career with the Jacks. And then with Irv Azoff and John Barrick's help and Bud Carr, I've had a chance to have a real music career, and I'm so thankful for it. It's been so much fun getting to play this role as, you know, as the conductor and as the band leader, or as just a member of a real good band, like the One-Eyed Jacks.
Oh, that was Barry Fosman, Foz, affectionately known as Foz, and the more I've looked into your career in the last couple of weeks leading up to this, the more amazing it is. You've done some incredible things. So congratulations, first of all, for that, and that's why the Fame reference. I guess you wrote something like 32 songs for that TV show. That's amazing. But I want to go back again to the beginning with, I'm sorry?
Produced about 95.
Wow. Friggin' amazing. Did you guys all meet together at the University of Illinois? Is that where the Jacks came together?
Yeah. Go on, Josh.
Yes, we all went to the University of Illinois.
And
but we came together in different ways. It's a whole story of how it all evolved, which would take quite a while. But
in Champaign-Urbana.
But we all went to Champaign-Urbana, yeah.
Were you all part of the same fraternity?
No.
You should tell them this story.
The original members were part of the same fraternity. Actually, Bud would be a good person to talk about, and George. Because they were part of the original band and the original fraternity. A lot of the members were in fraternities because that was a big thing at the time.
Right.
And
well, another quick question. I'm really curious about the British garb kind of thing. Was that influenced by Paul Revere and the Raiders by any chance, or who came up with that idea for those outfits? Because that was pretty distinctive.
Yeah, that idea preceded me, but my understanding was it was kind of inspired by the Paul Revere and the Raiders idea. Again,
well,
I had to ask about that.
We had a quick interview with Feather Train earlier. Jeff Poor, of course, was in Feather Train. He's right there. And we had Bruce Hall from REO on there. And
there's the outfit. Celeste has the One-Eyed Jack. Oh,
Yeah, nice. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, terrific. That's great.
Wow.
Thank you for that, Celeste. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool.
But Bruce Hall was talking about in fact, all you guys were, what huge fans of the Jacks. I mean, you guys set the bar really high to follow, and that was really a spectacular start.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time I saw the One-Eyed Jacks. I think I was 15 years old, and they were just at a totally different level. I mean, they had the charismatic lead singer. They were so tight. They had a show. I mean, they were so professional.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a revolution. I think that's what propelled the music scene in Champaign to the hyperspace.
I agree with that. There was a confluence of interests, of course, with the university and the Chicago influence, and then Blythe Unlimited was huge in the Midwest. But you guys had to deliver the goods, and that's what was really impressive to me and everybody else. Bruce Hall was talking about he was 15, I think, the first time he saw them too, and it just blew everybody away. So there had to have been a conscious effort to go into that whole packaging of the One-Eyed Jacks. It just seemed like, boom, you were there. But I know there was a lot more to it than that.
If it hadn't been for the One-Eyed Jacks, there would not have been Chances Are.
Well,
that's just a fact. The Jacks were everything that started the whole scene.
Chances Are Bartholomew. He was a member with Bud and George, and he wanted to start this club, and he asked the Jacks to help him design it, showcase the One-Eyed Jacks, is my understanding.
Wow. That's crazy.
The other thing that blew me away is your relationship with, and John, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he had something to do with this, but your relationship with WLS Radio was friggin' huge. And I don't know how you got those 50,000 watt AM station DJs to come down and be part of St. Patrick's teen dances on the weekends, but
Dinero.
Huh?
Money.
that's what I thought. Payola.
We did. We hired them to come and MC our shows.
Yeah, well, it was brilliant, and it was really also a huge, I think, catalyst in getting that One-Eyed Jacks brand all around the Midwest. But you also, I read somewhere that you guys also opened for the Doors and Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah, we opened for the Doors and the Jefferson Airplane.
Wow. Was that in the Midwest?
Yeah, that was at the University of Illinois. It's the big venue there. Assembly Hall.
Assembly Hall, yeah.
There was a big cultural building, the Assembly Hall.
Yeah, that round saucer building. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so moving back to you, Foz, for a second here. After you left the Jacks, you had these relationships you'd already developed with John and Irving and others. Did you go out to California right after that?
Yeah. I don't know about right after that. I went to California in '72.
Oh, I just wondered what your career path took from the One-Eyed Jacks to getting out to California and scoring movies and working with all those amazing stable of artists that you've worked with over the years.
It was all so easy back then. It really seemed like it was much easier than it is. Just the state of the business.
Joss, they're about the same time that Barry did.
Foz and I have been lifelong friends, and we are Foz and Jaws. We're known as Foz and Jaws.
Foz and Jaws. Yeah, that's great.
His father's nickname was Foz, and my father's nickname was Jaws, and they called us that. And then we met each other and realized that we have that in common.
Well, how did you guys get together in the Jacks? Were you both there at the same time?
I tried out for another band that Foz was in. They were looking for a drummer, and I began to play with that band. It's called the Unit 4. And then it was at one point, the Jacks were looking for some good singers who could sing harmony well, and they called on Foz and Bill Schneider. Is that right, Bill? And they joined the One-Eyed Jacks. And then the drummer, I believe, had to quit because his wife didn't want him to play anymore or something like that. He quit, and so Foz got me to audition for the Jacks.
Awesome.
And I joined.
I love that you guys are still friends after all those years.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, we made a spiritual connection.
That's special.
Hey, Josh, what was the year you joined the Jacks?
I'm guessing 67 or 68.
Yeah.
67 or 68, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was just when Irving started booking us. That was a very exciting time. It's really when this band started to take off.
Yeah, that guy was amazing with the telephone, wasn't he?
Oh my God. I can just tell you, the Jacks were #1 at our agency. There was no question about that. I'll never forget a situation where I'd booked a gig for my band. I was one of the agents and also a player like Harry Washburn. And basically, the date got taken out from under me and given to the Jacks because you guys had a date fall out. And Irving just kind of laughed at me and he said, "What do you think?" I mean, he said, "What, there's a first string and a second string, and the Jacks are the first string." So I'll never forget. I was so pissed, and I acted like a kind of a fool, but I was really young, so you have to forgive me for that.
We forgive you.
Thanks. Well, you got the date. It was a $2,500 date. You got that.
Wow, for then?
Yeah.
That's huge money.
Wow.
Musicians are often emotional and egotistical if you haven't realized that. And as we get older, we mellow out.
Isn't that the truth? So the Jacks themselves, in the presentation, was it all, predetermined how you're going to present that whole thing? Was it 90 minutes and you figured it out from the beginning to the end, or was there jamming in the middle of that? I don't recall, to be honest with you. I just remember this incredible package.
Yeah.
It was pretty well organized, I think. We were organized.
Yeah. Well, that's
yeah, they were choreographed. It was so pro. It was just not like the other bands played around here. It was a whole different level.
Well, we have hope this is okay, but Dave here has been awesome at finding tracks, and we have been playing some of your recorded material on our Homegrown KIO show here. We found some in the John Philip Sousa library, I think, on campus, and then Pogo Records had some. And so it's just, if you guys got any other tunes, I'll have to get together and let you know what we already have, but we'd love to have anything you've got recorded.
Yeah, we used to do a lot of covers of John Philip Sousa marches.
That's why you got the big money, huh?
Foz, again, thank you so much for your time here, and I hope you have a wonderful birthday, and nice to meet you too, Rick. And this is terrific. This is we're kind of pinning our whole show on the One-Eyed Jacks started that, and then everything else came after the Jacks. So this is
what's happening with Chances Are. They're going to rebuild it or not?
No, they're tearing it down.
It burned down.
Well, one of the walls collapsed.
Yeah,
the back wall collapsed.
That's because of the fire.
Right before you.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. Because that was such a cool place.
Right. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Mike. I was just writing.
Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Can I just say something since John Barrick is live right now? It's good to see you, John. I wish you'd worn your fringe jacket, because I wore one in honor of you today.
Which?
It was made out on the Crow Reservation, and it's beautiful. And if you were here, I might give it to you, because I love it. But that's how I remember you. I'll never forget, how you had that beautiful fringe jacket.
And I had a hat.
Oh yeah.
John Barrick, this is Larry Fredrickson. I wanted to thank you again for your help with the Bob Nutt Memorial. That ended up being really nice, and it was great to read your comments as part of it. The pastor there at First Presbyterian Church did a really nice job of reading comments, and yours were appreciated. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah, my pleasure.
But you were such a charismatic performer, in my opinion. I'll never forget the first time I saw you. I was 15 years old, and I had become friends. And a couple of years later, I'd become friends with George Harvey. And you guys had an apartment out on South First Street, and
I remember it well.
And I had an apartment there too, and I would come over and hang out, and George and I'd sing together. And I was so in awe of you, I got to tell you, man, because you had such presence, and the success of your career obviously is testament to that.
Well, thank you. It's nice that you sang with George, because you sang with somebody who could actually sing, as opposed to
Right.
It's all about the presentation.
I don't know, man. You pulled it off pretty well, I thought.
Hey, Bud can sing. He's got his own style. But
Yeah.
Great.
always tactful, that Foz man. Always tactful.
as far as I'm concerned, you had as much to do in the band.
Well,
I would have thought.
What were the discussions like when you were picking me on board?
I don't think I had anything to say about it. One of the things that, and I'm sure John can speak to this, lead singers, have opinions, but really can't do anything.
Except have lead singer's disease.
I've heard of it.
Yes. Yeah. You want to get something done, don't ask the singer. Ask the drummer.
Ask the drummer.
There you go.
Yeah, the progression of the Jacks has to be left to George Harvey. He's the historical keeper of the what the hell happened when it happened. He's a guy who can tell you everything. I just have to follow what he says.
We got a hotel room in Kankakee, Illinois. We had a show. We opened for the Jefferson Airplane at this gymnasium type venue, and I remember we just got one room for all of us, so everybody was showering, and and George needed a little extra time in the bathroom, and and got everybody over to the show, and we did a sound check, and I wanted the guys to go right from from off stage, pick up their guitars and start playing, immediately. Didn't let the normal stuff that happens, just because it was the Jefferson Airplane, and we were opening. And so George was just frantic, because the tuning of his guitar was an ordeal that took hours, but we did it. We pulled it off. It was a great show, and we got to meet Grace Slick. How cool was that?
Yeah.
Memorable for sure.
It was a trip.
A lot of great openings like that.
We had our equipment ripped down by the Doors, by the Doors crowd in Chicago.
All went away. You went after it, but we didn't get it.
Did they take stuff?
Everything.
Everything.
I didn't know that.
I think we ended up with the Echo Box.
Are you serious? You think the Hollies guys
No, this was the Doors. No, they didn't steal it. I think that riot went on there.
It was a week after he had exposed himself in Florida.
Yeah.
And their next show was in Chicago. And we were part. There were two other acts that opened the show, and we were in the middle. And then he got on stage and took out his pee-pee again and incited a riot. And the entire, I forget, it was a Chicago auditorium or something. You know, the seats got ripped out, and they stormed the stage and took all of our gear. We had that gray custom gear, took it all.
I just remember the folding chairs coming out of the balcony.
Wow.
that was a little bit, but then you have to think, okay, the Doors. I mean, you know what their music is like, and we were still doing Four Seasons covers,
right?
Okay, in car or something. I can't remember.
We were.
So I'm not sure that those fans really, thought much of us. So maybe they thought the equipment was worth more than what we were doing. So.
Another band in the business was the Shady Days.
Have it.
Yeah.
Memory.
It just comes to me.
Random, great stuff.
What year was that? 68, 9?
7, 8, 67, 68.
Wow, who's that lady?
Yeah.
And like I'm thinking.
Yeah,
okay,
it'd have to be 68, I think.
Wow.
Again, George Harvey would tell you exactly where it was and when it was.
And what month it was.
Here I am.
Tom Kelly.
Hey there.
Kelly.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Please welcome
Tom Kelly.
Who am I looking at?
These are all.
These three guys up top. Okay.
These
These
three
three
guys.
Being interviewed.
Oh, hello.
He was the one that.
Why don't you sit, Tom?
Yeah, really. Just a minute. There's that Serious Fringe.
Where is this now?
Chances are.
Awesome.
Don
Wow.
Barrett, Serious Fringe.
That's fantastic. Can you, is there a way you might be able to take a picture?
Bob Nutt and Denny Henson. Chances are with that fringe.
Mike Murphy, can you hear us?
Yes.
When were you in the Jacks, Mike?
69. What do you think, John?
69.
Mike. Hey, Mike.
Mike, your audio's muted.
It is? Hang on.
Mike, you were in the Jacks about 69 or 70?
69, I think, is when I joined somewhere.
Yeah.
I think I left in somewhere around 81, maybe.
Wow.
Something like that.
Well, I know you were, you had a stint there with REO, and I was in a band that backed you up a couple of times there, Owensboro, Kentucky, and other places. It was.
I was into blues, so I kind of ruined our what we stood for. Kind of not purposely, but I lost a lot of our followers by changing the music also. But I played with Tom a little bit, and so it was just a couple of years.
Yeah, the band went through some music style changes over the years, obviously.
I will say this. When I joined and we sang all those harmony things and those difficult Beach Boy things, that was really fun. That was a blast. Love it.
I think he said from 69 to 81, and he meant 71. You guys.
71, yeah, 69, 70.
Did I say 71?
You said 81,
okay.
and you meant 71, I think.
Okay. Sorry.
Like 2 years.
I remember.
Let's see, you were in Silver Bullet Band for a while. You were in REO. And then, Mike, I have to ask you real quick about Billy Vera and the Beaters. You were part of that at this moment?
Yeah.
I didn't play on the record, but I've been playing with him for almost 40 years.
You played on the record?
No, I did not play on that one. I played on some of the later ones, but I still play with him.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Wow.
Gig about maybe a month ago. It's, you know, it's the virus. It's been really slow, but we did that, and he does some other stuff too. He does a lot of stuff. But
yeah, that was great song. Great song.
Yeah, it was number one for a couple of weeks.
And then you were with KIO, and you did your song "Lost in a Dream," and
yeah, that's a song that actually I wrote with Bruce.
Right. Yeah.
And he really wrote it. And so, yeah, Bruce wrote great songs. Bruce is a great bass player and a great guy.
Well, I think you all would agree that what happened in Champaign-Urbana was pretty special.
Definitely. There were so many bands, and the music scene was so great there. I think I certainly learned a lot of stuff there.
Agreed. Jeff and I have talked about this on numerous occasions. It was really a confluence of interests that made this happen, and also that there was less of a diversionary things to take up your time, like the internet and video games and all that sort of stuff. We didn't have that, so music was really it.
Well, you know, there was
special time.
One of the things I remember most about Mike, and I'm talking about Murphy,
yeah,
was when he had a grand piano lifted up and they took out a window so this piano could go into his apartment on the second story of
house. I thought that was so cool.
I wonder if that thing still exists, the piano.
That's awesome. This is awesome.
It was good. One thing also I want to talk about, I said it on one of the
Can you speak up a little bit, Mike?
I don't know why I'm not well. Let me see if I can change the mic. So it's when I first moved to Champaign, I didn't know anything about business and I didn't know how to take care of myself. So Foz took me to the bank and opened me up a checking account, and I'll always remember that. And
that's a great story.
I love you for that. And so now, then I was so bad at it that my wife took over the bank account. And now that I'm 73, I just opened my second account.
Hey, who's the oldest here? Is anyone 74? Is 74. Anyone 75?
Next week, 2 weeks. I'm 75. You're 75.
That's great.
76. Always older. You were great ahead of us.
Yeah, you guys look great.
This is the first time I've been sitting.
I like to say that we're still alive and that's it. Zoom is so wonderful.
Oh, it's good to see you, man.
It is great to see you.
It's really
Mike.
great to see all of you guys.
Yeah, good stuff.
Boris, are you in Florida or are you in Illinois?
I'm in Illinois for a couple more days, and then I'm actually going to Scottsdale to teach when I get back, and then drive to Florida.
George.
Right. Tribune. George, I understand you're the historian.
So there was a question for George.
Yeah, about the timeline of the band. I understand you kind of are the keeper of the facts.
Did we open for Jefferson Airplane?
Did you get George on?
That was 1968. We played at Kankakee High School. And we got to meet Grace Slick and the whole band.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And the Doors was May 10th, 1968.
Yeah.
The Coliseum.
Coliseum in Chicago?
Well, the amphitheater. I'm sorry, I always got those backwards. And there were 4,000 people there.
Wow. Very cool.
That was our biggest gig to date.
Very cool.
What was the date of that?
I think it's May 10th or May 9th. It was the 50th anniversary, the same week that we met at Foz's back in May, 3.5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That was the same week was the 50th anniversary of our performing for them.
Oh.
And we had brand new Shure S58 mics for that gig, and they stole all our mics too.
Wow.
Oh.
So George, what was your tenure in the band? What years were you part of One Eye Jacks?
Well, I started the band in '64 in February. Actually, let me adjust that. I joined a band from Urbana High in February of 1964. The Jacks probably wouldn't have happened had I not joined SAE.
What do you mean Urbana High? Tell me what was the implication?
Yeah, what happened was I joined I decided to pledge SAE, and this was in February on a Friday night. There were only 2 guitar players in the house of 45 brothers. Dave Hansen was one and I was the other. We were waiting to get down to the meal for dinner, and we had a phone. Nobody had cell phones back then, of course. Nobody had even a regular phone in their rooms. We had a phone booth downstairs in the entranceway. So the phone rang. Dave Hansen, of all the brothers, picked up the phone. Then he called me over and said, "There's some guy on here that wants a guitar player for tonight or tomorrow night, and I can't do it. I've got a date. Do you want to play?" And I said, "Well, let me talk to him." So I talked to him. He said, "Do you know any of these songs? Walk, Don't Run," and all that. A lot of instrumentals back then. And I said, "No, but if you can holler out the chords to me, I can follow up with it." So he says, "All right, we'll pick you up on Saturday night." And it was a group of 3, a trio called the Ramrods from Urbana High. And I had never heard of them, but we drove up to Rantoul at a church dance, and we had a small stage, and they called out chords to me, and it was pretty simple because it was surf music and, well, as I say, the Ventures and all that was popular then. So at the end of the gig, I got paid $10. And they said, we're working all the time. Do you want to join the band? I said, sure. So that was Saturday night. The next night was the Ed Sullivan Show with the Beatles debut. That's why I know the weekend, because of that. But anyway, we started playing at cams and Bidwells and sororities and fraternity parties all that spring of '64. So they graduated high school. I was a freshman that year. And so when I came back that fall in September of '64, I said, I want to have a band again and make some money. So I said to my brothers, I said, we got to pledge a guitar player, a lead player. I was a rhythm player, not a lead. And so we pledged Mike Jackie. And Mike Jackie was a gymnast and he played good lead guitar.
I used to compete.
And we said we need a drummer. And in the house, they knew Bill Gedson, so we got Bill. And he knew Bob Bender, who played bass. He was in pre-med. So he joined the band. We called ourselves the SAE Combo. Real original, huh? But so we started playing, and then we got Bobby Amram to play sax. And we were all SAEs except for Bob. We worked all through the fall of '64 into '65. Then Bob Bender graduated. We wanted to get a new bass player and guitar player, and that's when we hired Lee Nolan and Vito Racanelli. That's when things really started getting better. And we were making $50 a night for the whole band, which was still about $10 a piece. Then that went through the spring of '65. then we hired Bud in the spring of 65, got Bud on board. And then the fall of 65 is when things started picking up. That into the spring of 66. The Daily Illini did a story on us that we're waging war against the Klansmen. The Klansmen was a really big group back then. They were already in, when I came in 63, they were already in playing. So we, at the Armory, we did a battle of the bands with them, and the Daily Illini did a nice article on us. And then that summer is when we went to Chicago and played at the Club Laurel for 12 weeks, breaking the house record for a number of weeks there. And then we came back that fall in 66, and we had outfits, we had uniforms, and we were able to demand a higher wage than $50 a night. We asked for $250, and that's what we got. So instead of one fraternity or one sorority, it was 4 of them getting together to pay our fee. Plus we had a rider for lights and food, things like that.
Were you the One-Eyed Jacks at that point then? I don't know when that happened.
Yeah, Lee Nolan, that's up to Lee Nolan. Marlon Brando had a movie in 61 called One-Eyed Jacks. And he thought, that's better than SAE Combo, and we all agreed. Yeah. So we adopted the name of the One-Eyed Jacks.
And that was about 65, you said?
That was spring of 65.
How come I never got one of those?
So,
there it is. Yeah, she's got one, and that's it. But you have one framed, don't you?
The closet.
He has it. It's in the closet.
Yeah. But yeah, so
this is going to go to the University Archives, University of Illinois.
Give me an address. I'll send it to them.
We talked with Scott quite a bit that runs at the Sousa Library there, and that's where we got a lot of the recorded One-Eyed Jacks material. So he'd be really happy to have that. Okay, so the zenith of the band, so to speak, was 68, 69, in that area there when you're doing these things with playing Chicago and opening for the Doors and an Airplane. 68? Yeah.
George, do you still play?
No, I stopped in I think it was 85 after a car accident. I had to have surgery. I had got injured in a car accident. And I became a real estate broker in California and Los Angeles. And that's what I did up until 2013.
How many years is that?
But it was about 21 years that I, actually 28 years in real estate. I performed for 21 from the beginning of the Jacks till I gave up music in 85.
I think it's very cool you guys still are in contact with each other. That's really remarkable. There is a special bond that happens when you play music. I totally get that. I like the Chicago music scene with the Buckinghams and New Colony Six and Ides of March and all that was going on about the same time as you guys, but I don't know exactly how it happened that you were all on the same level with those groups coming from Champaign-Urbana, but you got any insights on that, how that happened? Was that John Barrick's input, or?
Most of the bands you're talking about were based in Chicago. Can you hear me? Most were based in Chicago.
Yes.
So it was more of a big city music scene. There were certainly more places to play, and the Crying Shames and Colony Six, and all, those bands that we were kind of on a par with. They got more airplay because they were right in, they were hanging out with Larry Lujak. But we had a real unique situation in Champaign because there was so much music, and there was just, I think that everybody that was involved at whatever level they were involved, felt like this can happen. We felt like we could be successful at this in some form or another. It's so far different than here we are, 55 years later, and with a highly competitive, music scene, and it was it was all happening there. Our peers, our heroes, the musicians that we respected, the writers that we respected, it was all happening right there in Champaign. And I think we all felt that something was going to happen from it.
I remember the first time I visited Irving, this was in the 70s. I was out in LA, and I went to visit him, and I looked around and I said, God, Irving, how did you get so far so fast? And he'd already gotten the Eagles at that point and so on. And I think you were just joining up, John, with him out there. And he said, well, it was pretty simple. He said, I learned to do business in Champaign. Instead of taking 3-hour lunch breaks to play tennis, I work. I'll never forget when he said that.
Well, it's interesting because he said to me, he left Champaign a year before I did. I stayed behind and looked after REO and Fogelberg because they were, still in Champaign. Fogelberg moved out to LA with Irving, and Irving got a job as an agent with the Heller Fischel.
Heller Fischel, I think.
And then went on to ABC Booking, and then he was booking Joe Walsh, and Walsh wanted him to manage him. So that was like the first sign of management might be something to do instead of being an agent. Irving was a great agent. But it was right during that time that he called me up. It was about a year after he'd been in town. Called me up and said, pack up your shit. We can take this town. And I've told that story to many, but that's exactly what he said. And I packed up my shit and, had the roadies from REO drive my truck and my car out and started up. We started Frontline Management, and we did take that down.
Yeah, you did.
John, didn't you have a 442 back then?
That was me. And John too, 68, yeah. I had a 69.
Oh my God, those were great. Nobody still has those, do they?
They're going for $100,000 on there.
I know. I know. They were great back then, even.
100,000, John.
Yep.
I paid $3,500.
You said 442. George, you said 442. I mean, what brand was the 442?
That's Oldsmobile.
Was that Oldsmobile?
Oldsmobile 442.
442.
It was a fast
450 horsepower.
Right. And it would get us to Appleton, Wisconsin in 5 hours.
Yep.
2-lane roads, no doubt.
Remember, you had a regular clutch, stick shift.
Yeah.
I had to push the pedal for the clutch with both feet. It was so strong. So when I got mine, I got an automatic, and I didn't have to worry about that. Plus lower insurance. That car. We set the record from. And John had set the record from getting. I think it was 66 miles back to Champaign, and he had the record, and I wanted to see if I could beat the record. One night, because we would take turns driving, so they all went to sleep, and I drove. I probably shouldn't be advertising this now, but in the late summer when they harvested the corn, you could see on either side of the road. It was a paved 2-lane highway, but you could gun it and go as fast as you wanted. And that 442, I got it up over 120 in the middle of the night, and I didn't see any lights coming on either side. And I broke John's record by about 5 minutes. And but funny, Jaws was asleep in the back, and he woke up and looked over my shoulder, because he didn't like to go fast. He says, "Can you hold it down to 100?" I said, go back to sleep, Jaws. I'm okay.
Somebody had the Volkswagen. We used to.
That's
No, a little bug. There was the infamous trip where Boris was driving my 442, and Foz and I were in the back seat tripping, and we were going about 100 miles, 110 miles an hour.
Triple digits.
And,
That's for
and
sure.
Boris turned the lights off. So he was driving at 100 miles an hour down whatever that road was called. Was that Frontage Road, or I forget what it was called?
It was just a back road that went from, it was the back way that paralleled Route 47.
Right.
And there was never any traffic on it back in those days.
That was the Fisher Road.
Yeah.
Dewey Fisher Road.
Yeah.
It was just
Everyone, this is Rosemary, my wife. If you don't know her,
Hi, Rosemary.
We've been together for a very long time.
Yeah.
Rose,
I will tell Ann, my wife, that I got to see you. She's
who are you?
I'm Jeff Poor. I'm married to Ann Eisner.
Yeah, no, I remember her. I had a good time with her.
When was the last time any of you were back in Champaign-Urbana? I don't think you would recognize it.
I don't think since I moved.
It's been a long time.
If you go on YouTube, you can take a drive through Champaign-Urbana.
That's right. That's right. Down Green Street.
Oh, yeah.
Green Street.
I learned that 408 West Church Street was torn down. Rosemary.
That was where we lived, right?
Yeah, that house was torn down.
Yeah, that's right.
A year ago. That was an infamous, you guys in Champaign, that was a house where a bunch of us lived in different apartments, 408 West Church. And then Foz lived in another one on Church Street, down this block, a block or two, that white mansion on the other side.
Yeah.
That was a nice place, really. You know, you had the smallest apartment I've ever seen.
I've got some fun pictures of us at that apartment with you playing jacks on the kitchen floor, Mike.
No tables, just there was only enough room for the floor.
No, we had a little the kitchen. The front room, the kitchen, and the bathroom. That's right.
But it was small.
But I remember hearing you play piano all night long downstairs at 408 West Church.
Drove you crazy, probably.
Oh, no, we loved it. It was wonderful. Who would be lucky enough to sleep by the tune of Mike Murphy playing all night long?
Yeah, I think everybody should sing happy birthday to
I think that's a great idea.
I wish I had my keyboard in here.
Let's do it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mom. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
That's right.
And from the bottom of my heart, I do.
It's my birthday and also George's birthday.
Wow. Happy birthday to George.
Yeah.
That's crazy. How about that? Hey, listen, everybody, thank you so much for your time. We have an email address here at the radio station if you want to check out that way. We'll get back with you. But the email is homegrown at 1079WKIO.com. And that's homegrown, one word, at 1079WKIO.com. And if you want to...
Gentlemen.
What's that?
We got to tell you the story about the documentary that's being made now.
Okay.
Please do.
Let's get Shane August in the picture here.
And
that's Shane.
Hello. I haven't been on the screen yet either. But
I've been filming the whole thing over here, this end, listening, and well, most of you know the story. So I was sitting with Jaws and Foz in the studio
after the last reunion.
And I didn't, I mean, I knew that Foz was from Champaign. I knew about the One-Eyed Jacks, but I didn't really pay much attention. And then they started telling the story in the studio, and I was just kind of eavesdropping like a fly on the wall. And I just realized that that was a story that had to be told. Don't stop the video. Foz is tinkering with the technology here. Sorry. No, it's okay. Anyway, so that's how the documentary idea came about, and there are a bunch of little synchronicities along the way that just clued me into the fact that I needed to tell the story, and it's been quite a ride. And actually, hopefully, we'll be getting some funding soon. We'll see. John's helping a little bit with that, and we may do a crowdfunding thing. Who knows? But anyway, so stay tuned. It's going. And
also, I want to add, Shane took a trip to Champaign.
Yes.
3 or 4 months ago as the first step to do this documentary. And he sent some pictures back of Chances Are to us, which I hadn't seen for many, many years. And exactly 1 week later, some friend of mine, totally not related to the One-Eyed Jacks, sent me a picture of Chances Are that had been blown half over by the storm.
Oh.
It was quite a coincidence. And apparently you're saying that they're going to tear it down. So we got the last pictures of Chances Are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It's the end of an era there for sure.
Wind came along and took it down.
We still have a red lion here, but outside you would recognize, but the inside is totally different too. And that's just they don't have any live music there anymore.
That was a little low key. Can we get you on here yet?
Hi, Celeste. Hi, Tom. Are you leaving? If they wanted to ask you any questions, but anyhow, good to see you, Tom.
Okay. Tom, by the way, I Touch Myself. It's one of my favorite songs and records. I'm serious. I'm not that I touch myself a lot. It's just that I love the song. Okay. That's fine. Thanks,
Tom, thanks.
True.
Outstanding.
Hey, Jeff. Hi, Larry. Hi. I just want to say hi.
Hey, Shane.
Hey, Shane. Justin, thank you, Justin, for being there.
You guys
to be continued for
the
sure.
Most talented, and some of you are here. The most talented guy I ever met in my life. Period.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
Who?
Shane.
Shane.
I concur.
Well, how about that? Yeah.
He's also a nice guy too.
I want to send
same
you guys
time,
some of his songs.
Shane, do you take, Foz, do you take Venmo or Zelle? That was very nice. Thank you. I'll send you the cash. But
George, it's good seeing you. Mike, it's great seeing you. And of course,
yes,
everybody. But Foz.
Yeah.
Love you, man.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, and you're buying my car.
Hey, I told Shane needs to buy your car.
He might.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Happy birthday.
Larry, I'll be in touch. Thank you, Larry.
Okay. See you, Shane.
Thanks, Larry.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, boys. Is that what they call you, or do they call you Bill?
They call me Bill nowadays.
Yeah.
Bill, thanks for being a part of it.
Hey, check this out.
Oh, there's the fringe.
Yeah, here's the fringe. This, yeah.
Good one.
It was homecoming today. And, George, see you, man.
Foz, is Jaws there next to you?
Yeah.